The previous lesson, we set up our fetch request, returning back all of the data, and now we need to make use of that data. So let's set up a function in order to handle that. Output to, call it output to page, and we'll pass in the parameter of data so that we can send it here from our function. And let's just update that console log. So instead of console logging it out, it'll output that data. So what we want to do is we want to actually loop through all of that data. So let's do data, and for each function, and then function, we've got item, we've got the value as well. So let's set that up, item I. And let's, first of all, let's just console log out what we're actually returning here within our iteration. And we'll log out item as well as I. And let's close off that rounded bracket. Just make sure we've got all of our brackets closed off, refresh, and see what happens. So we see that we're able to output all of the data within our console. So each one of those items within that whole index of data that's been returned, we can return out that information back, and it's within an object format. So this is actually perfect for us to be able to output it within our web page. So let's update that and add that into our web page. So the way that we want to do it is we've already created an unordered list called with an ID of output. So we want to add to each one of those elements the value. So let's set that up. And that should actually be price USD. So let's refresh and try it out. So there we go. So we got all of the prices coming in, and we can get all of that other information as well. So if we go over to here, so I'm going to just remove that one out, refresh, and see what other information we want to pull out of there. So we need to get the name of the item. So that's going to be, let's mark these down. So we want name, we want price US, and we also want to grab the symbol as well. So you see there's symbols. So if you open that up, you can see that a little bit better, and just grab out whatever values for the object that you want to make use of. And so now we're ready to output it. We can build out a string if we want for that as well. We can build out a list item. So let's do that. And we're going to do it using let list item and document using create element. And we're going to create a list item within the elements. So li is a list item. And also let's do let span equals document create element, and we're going to create a span as well. And then now we need to add in some content into these. So let's do span inner HTML. So what do we want to add in there? And let's add in there, we'll do it within this templated type format. So item name. Let's also do item. And within the prices, so we'll do a price fixed, because we do need to fix that price value. So for now, we'll just do item, and we're going to just use the price US dollars. But you see that within the US dollars, so there's actually, it's going to go more than 2 decimal points. So we might ideally want to switch it down to maximize it to 2 decimal points. So we can set the fixed price and handle that within this variable, within the price fixed variable. So we'll add that in as well as a value. And let's update this, and we'll do the backtick there as well to close that off. So that's building out the span. And now let's append the span to the list item. So let's append child. And we're appending that span into the list item. And then lastly, let's do output append child as well. And that will append the list item with the span inside of it into our output as list items. And that should also be an equal sign there. So let's refresh and see what happens. So when I make it big, we see that we've got all of the values there and listed out in US dollars. And we see that we've got more than 2 decimal places. So let's fix that with a math function. This is just JavaScript math function. Math round. And we're going to round the value, multiply it by 100, and then divide it by 100. And that should give us up to 2 decimal places. So let's see what happens. So there we go. So we've got everything down to 2 decimal places. So go ahead, try this out for yourself. Update your page to make a request to the API and output all of those cryptocurrency values with the currency name, the currency symbol, and the US dollar price. And coming up, we'll show you a little bit more that you can do with this. And we're also going to be going into working with our backend in order to set this up. And I'm also going to update these as well. So instead of vars, I'm going to use const to be consistent with fetch, because we're using fetch within here, and then we're using let down here. So go ahead and add that into your code. And next, we're going to be building this out even further. So that's coming up.